What's up everyone, and thanks for watching. I'm Eric the Human. Welcome to Let's Get Hyped Game of Thrones Season 7 edition. Now to start off, I'm not going to be doing a video on every single episode of Game of Thrones because I feel like the market is super saturated out there, but what I will do is after watching the first episode, which I just did, I'm going to be talking about the things that possibly got set up to be hyped about for the rest of the season. The cool thing that Game of Thrones usually does at the beginning of their seasons, their very first episode does usually set up a bunch of things and ties up loose ends from the previous season. So with that in mind, let's jump in and get the hype train rolling. To start off, I'm going to begin with the end of the episode. Daenerys Stormborn Targaryen, Mother of Dragons, longest name in Game of Thrones history, finally lands on Dragonstone, the place of her birth. After 6 seasons of hyping up the return of the Targaryens, she has finally landed on Westeros. This sets up so many other things, and luckily, no one was at Dragonstone, so she just waltzed her way right in. What this sets up is the 4th army surrounding Cersei in King's Landing and her ever-shrinking army. Speaking of which, Cersei is finally realizing that, she's kind of boned, and there's 4 armies surrounding her, and she has to pick which one to go after because she does not have the forces to go after all 4 at one time. This is very crucial on what army she decides to go after. If she goes after an army that's also coming after her, then they cancel each other out for the most part, and she's okay. But if she picks an army that's not going to be invading, and she gets invaded from another side, she's completely done. So this is going to build up a whole bunch of tension throughout the whole series. It's also very important to note that Jaime is finally starting to realize that Cersei is a horrible individual. In the books, at this point in time, Jaime has come back to King's Landing and he already despises Cersei. But now, after the deaths of all 3 of their children, I think he's finally coming to terms with how awful she is. And there's also another visitor coming to King's Landing very soon. At the end of Season 6, Arya has finally infiltrated the Freys and killed Walder Frey. At the beginning of Episode 1 of Season 7, Arya poses as Walder Frey and poisons all the rest of the important Freys in the world. After that, she coldly says, "Winter has come." Now with Arya fully able to control her ability to change faces, when she gets to King's Landing, it's going to be a very interesting situation. Everyone's favorite poop scooper Sam finally discovers something important at the Citadel. Sam finds out that Dragonstone is literally on top of a mountain of dragonglass, and he's going to send word to Jon, which will, in turn, cause Jon to go to Dragonstone. And I don't know if you guys caught on last season or not, but Jon is actually related to Dany. Dany is Jon's aunt, and he's going to go meet her and not even know that. But that might change soon. In episode 1, we actually do finally see Bran pass through the wall. And this is very important because not only is he getting closer to Jon, but last season he was touched by the Night King. Why is that important, Eric? You might be asking me. Well, there's a theory going around that because Bran was touched by the Night King, once he passes through, the magical curse keeping the White Walkers from being able to pass through the wall might be broken. This means that the White Walkers might be able to go straight through the wall whenever they damn well feel like it. But that's not the only way they might be able to get through it. Euron Greyjoy, King of the Iron Islands, showed up to King's Landing and proposed to Cersei. She promptly turned him down, which led Euron to say that he would go get her a gift worthy of her. Now, in the books, it is theorized that Euron's horn that he has is the Horn of Winter. If you don't know what the Horn of Winter is, let me explain. The Horn of Winter is a very big horn. It's like huge horn, not just like huge, like the size of my room huge. What it does is it is a mystical horn that can destroy the wall. For those of you that paid attention well in earlier seasons of Game of Thrones, you may have noticed that the Horn of Winter had been brought up before. It was rumored that the King Beyond the Wall, Mance Rayder, was in possession of it. If Euron gets the Horn of Winter, gives it to Cersei, who we've already established is a horrible person, and she uses it to bring down the wall because she doesn't care about anybody but herself, the whole world is going to end. The White Walkers are going to come. The whole world is going to have to band together to fight against them. They might not have enough dragonglass. The whole world is just going to end. It's it. That's one of the things that could happen this season or next season. It's so incredibly crazy. Speaking of the White Walkers, did you notice? They have giants. And not just like regular giants. They have undead giants. They have at least 3. 3 giants. It took most of the Bolton army to take down 1 giant. They have 3, and they're undead. This is bad. Also, if you forgot, giants are capable of opening up the wall, the gate. They can open that. And if, as spoken earlier, they can get through the wall now because the curse is broken, the world is in trouble. In big, big trouble. Also, in the meeting of all the leaders in the north, Tormund was put in charge of Eastwatch by the Bay. So this means that he's going to be in charge of all the wildlings, and they're going to be taking over the Night's Watch at that place. Sadly, though, this is probably going to be the first place that the White Walkers hit. And let's face it, the wildlings are just going to be there to show how powerful the White Walkers are, because they're just cannon fodder for this entire show. Speaking of Eastwatch by the Bay, the Hound saw a vision of a castle near a bay next to the wall, and then guess what happened? There was an explosion in the fire. That doesn't bode well. So, most likely, my prediction of that place just getting completely destroyed by the White Walkers is pretty apt. Also, I'm going to leave you with this really dumb thought. I just feel like it's a fun one, and who knows? Maybe it'll turn into something. We never know. As I just said, the Hound was able to see a vision in the flames, just all of a sudden. This random ability that was just given to him by the Lord of Light might mean something bigger. And if you don't know who Azor Ahai is, he's the man that's supposed to wield the legendary sword Lightbringer and kill the Great Other, also known as the Night King. The way this has been portrayed so far is that 1. Stannis was the prince that was promised. 2. Jon has been the prince that was promised. Or 3. Dany is the prince that was promised. But many theorists out there don't believe that it's any of those, and it's going to be some random character. And I don't mean like random, like he's just going to walk onto screen. I mean like random as like, oh god, I didn't suspect that person. I'm throwing all my money right now, just because I want to, into the Hound. Because how poetic would it be that the man burned by flames, young in his life, becomes Azor Ahai and has to wield a flaming sword against the Great Other? It would be amazing, and I really hope it happens. Like, that would be so cool. And maybe something to do with his face being burned, he was able to connect with the Lord of Light very young, and he just didn't accept it. It could totally happen. Crazier things have happened. Like, look at Hodor. Like, the whole thing with Hodor. Literally, people made jokes about hold the door a long time ago. And then it happened. It happened. And early on, we saw theories of R plus L equals J. And it happened. This could happen. And if anything more substantial comes up, I will do videos on this, because I do really like this theory, and I'm going to spread it around as much as I can. Well, that's all the time I have for this. There's not much else I can talk about, so if you really enjoyed this, please let me know with a like or a comment, and tell me what you think of the first episode so far and what you think is going to happen. As for the next edition of Let's Get Hyped, I'm not sure what I want to do yet, so you guys can help me decide in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter. Black Panther, Mario Odyssey, Destiny 2, Thor Ragnarok. What's it going to be? Please help me decide. I'll pick by next Tuesday, probably. Or this Tuesday, not next Tuesday. That'd mean I'd miss a video. Not going to happen. So, let me know in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. Email me. All that stuff's in the description below. Thanks again for watching, everybody. And I'll see you guys next time for another edition of Let's Get Hyped.